Hi, I'm Bill Bronchick, and in this short video, I'd like to explain to you the great opportunity for real estate investing in this market using what I call the triple dip flip. Now, before I get into that, let me explain to you why this is such a great opportunity in today's market. We've reached a point where prices have, in most markets, pretty much stabilized, and in some markets, prices have actually started to drop, particularly on the higher end of things, and particularly on properties that were built within the last 20 to 25 years. You've probably seen them around in your market, for sale signs sitting and sitting and sitting. Now, the great thing about this is, even though it's a problem for the seller, the equity in the property is not very high, meaning the seller has very little in the difference between the market value at which it'll sell for quickly and what they owe, meaning they're almost break even. And in many cases, they can't even afford a real estate broker to list the property because they have no equity. But the good news is a lot of these properties have existing mortgages that are 3 or 4%, and some even lower. In fact, almost 2/3 of existing mortgages out there are still below 4%, and 1 in 4 are below 3%. Now, in the market, we know interest rates are 7% for an owner occupant. If you are an investor, you're going to be paying high sevens to eights. If you're getting DSCR or non-qualifying loans, you're paying closer in the 8s to 9%, which makes it almost impossible to break even as a rental, much less make any cash flow. But my strategy solves that by helping a seller out of a situation they can't get into, plus making it profitable for you to cash flow on these deals. And that's where my strategy, the triple dip flip, comes in. Basically, you're going to buy a property subject to an existing low rate interest rate mortgage, and you're going to turn around and sell it with owner financing to an owner occupant buyer at a higher price and a higher interest rate, creating a great big spread. Now, let me break that down for you. On the front end, we're buying the property, what's called subject to the existing mortgage. What does that mean? That means we're not going to assume the mortgage. We're not going to call the lender and ask for permission to assume it. You can't, because you're not going to live there, so they won't let you. And we're just going to buy the property from the seller. They're going to deed the property over to us, and then we're just going to continue making payments to the bank on this 3% mortgage. Now, there's not a lot of equity in these, but we don't need a lot of equity to make a good deal if the property's in pretty good shape. So let's say a $500,000 or $600,000 property, depending where you live. That might be cheap, that might be expensive. And let's say the seller's been trying to sell it for a while and is unable to do so, might even be facing defaulting on payments. They're pretty motivated and they want to get rid of the property. So if you give the seller a little bit of cash and take over that property ownership subject to the mortgage at 3%, now you have something that's valuable. Because a 3% mortgage in today's environment is not a liability, it's really an asset, because there are none of those available to us as investors. Now, what can we do from there? Well, you could rent it out, but still in that price range, you're going to have a hard time breaking even or making substantial cash flow. So instead, we're going to turn around and sell it with owner financing in what we call a wrap. Now, a wrap is where you create an owner financing loan that wraps around the underlying loan. So, for example, the $600,000 house, if they owe $550 at 3%, and we give the seller, let's say, 10 grand walking money, and in some cases you can give them nothing, and then turn around and sell it for more than 600 because you're offering terms, maybe 630, 640, get a nice chunk of a down payment, 50,000 or more, and then charge an interest rate to your buyer at 6 or 7%, which is still a good deal for them. And then you collect payments on that wrap at 6 or 7 and continue making the payments at 3%, creating that spread. Now, I call it the triple dip flip because there are 3 profit centers here. Number one, in this deal, we got 50 down and we only had to put up 10 to get the property. So that's a net 40. That's dip number one. Dip number two is the monthly spread, which in that example would be approximately $800 per month between what we're collecting and what we're paying out on the underlying mortgage. And then at some point, if this buyer is going to refi or sell the property, they're going to pay you off. And what they owe you is going to be more than what you owe on the underlying loan. And that's a third dip, and that's the triple dip flip. It works tremendously well in today's market because, number one, we've got a lot of sellers who aren't willing to drop the price or can't because they don't have any equity left, but they've got a good interest rate on their mortgage. We also have lots of buyers who can't qualify for traditional mortgages and are happy to pay $50,000, $100,000, or even more down to get into a property without having to qualify for a mortgage. With a reasonable interest rate, 6 to 7% is pretty darn good, and less than 20% down that they normally have to put for a conventional mortgage. So it's a win-win-win all around. You're helping sellers out, you're helping buyers out, and you're getting the triple dip flip, which is extremely profitable, extremely lucrative, and there are tons of deals out there. There are literally hundreds of billions of dollars worth of mortgages out there that you can use this strategy for. All you have to do is learn how to find them, learn how to negotiate them, put them under contract, and then do the triple dip flip on the back end. And that's where I come in to help you out. I'm looking to put together a small group of elite investors who are ready to accept the challenge, my challenge to you, to put this into effect and make lots of money in your market. Now, it's only a small group of people. It's not for everyone. And I'm looking to work with motivated people who have an open mind, are willing to learn, and most importantly, willing to hustle. And if you do those things, you do what we tell you to do, you're going to make some serious money using the triple dip flip strategy. If you'd like more information about our program, just simply reply to the email that you got for this video link, or just email Jonathan below, my partner. His email is at the bottom link there, and he will get back to you with more information about our program. I look forward to being a partner in your success.